All right, let's think about this. So imagine if you were in a position where you're able to be sought after as the go-to industry expert. And imagine if you could do something as simple as using a tool like LinkedIn to do that. So, well, what does LinkedIn have to do with it? That's what you're here for, right? So over the next 5 days, what I'm going to share with you, specifically the day when we focus on positioning yourself as an industry expert, I'm going to share with you how me and my clients are able to leverage something as simple as a social media tool in order to be sought after as industry leaders. More specifically, I'll have my client actually come on. She's part of the academy. I'll have her come on Thursday, and she's going to share how she was able to use her skill set, her background, and everything else that comes with it, and mesh that with a strategy on LinkedIn to be sought after for a conference that she'll be being flown to, taking care of everything in July and November. So we're going to work through that. So first, let's focus on what's going on with LinkedIn. We still have a few people coming into the room, but they can always catch up on the replay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the first page after the copyright. This is on the go-to brand, right? Let's think about, why is LinkedIn so different? And LinkedIn is a tool. I want you to remember, LinkedIn is really just a tool, nothing else. It's how you use it. So if you don't use it right, then you don't get the right results. So let's think about why, for you guys, depending on your audience, why is LinkedIn this perfect tool for you to start to use in order to get opportunities, in order to get these contracts, in order to get different things, right? Well, LinkedIn in itself is a search engine, first of all. So just like you would Google anything, or you would search things in Facebook, I believe you can do that. You can also do that in LinkedIn. So what typically happens? LinkedIn has about, at this point, I used to do these presentations about a year ago, pre-COVID. At that point, LinkedIn only had 600 million registered users. At this point, they have a little bit over 750 million users, close to the 800 million mark. The great thing and the great opportunity for LinkedIn is that maybe only about 40% of the people are active LinkedIn users. So when LinkedIn talks about active LinkedIn users, they log into the platform on a regular basis. So maybe like you, maybe like for some people, you may have set up a LinkedIn account, right? But you didn't necessarily, you don't log in, you maybe check once a week, you maybe check once a month. We have a lot of people on the platform who are not active users. So here is how you can benefit. So we have a percentage of the people who are active users. Out of that percentage, we have a small percentage that posts on a regular basis. Now, when we think about that, LinkedIn considers this posted on a regular basis once a week. So we have about 10% of those people that actually post on LinkedIn on a regular basis. And then from that small window, we have 9 billion views on the feed of LinkedIn. So if you think about it, if you're one of the 10% that posts on a regular basis on LinkedIn, you have your target audience. They're able to see your content, see your post. That's how I was able to get in, surprisingly enough, but that's how I was able to get 1 million views on my content last year alone. So if you think about the opportunities there, if you're active, if you do the right things, if you post the right things, one person could like your post and they could be connected to the next 5-figure contract, the next 6-figure contract, and that's all it takes. I remember when I kind of first, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background. When I first started taking LinkedIn seriously from the business standpoint, I wasn't posting every day because I wasn't intimidated by it. I come from a 20-year marketing background where I helped a lot of different brands. I helped them to build brand awareness in the marketplace. No one was thinking about LinkedIn at the time. We were all on LinkedIn. It was mostly resumes and recruiters before Microsoft owned it. And then one day I decided, and about 8 years ago, I left my corporate career in between all that stuff. One day I decided to go into LinkedIn to update my profile, to make sure that I was all set up as an entrepreneur and that I positioned myself the right way. And I didn't really know what I was doing. All I know is I had to change my profile around. 2 days later, someone reached out and they wanted to know if I could help them with a marketing plan. So I was completely shocked, as you can imagine, because all we thought about LinkedIn up to this point is this is where people go for jobs. And I wasn't thinking about it at that point. Anyway, that happened. It was super excited. By the way, I started off on Instagram and Facebook. I started off when I came in the online space as a social media manager, mostly because of imposter syndrome, guys. So we probably have some people in the room who are not really living up to their full potential, right? They're hiding, they're the best kept secret in their field. They are not focused on opportunities that's really going to get to them to where they want to go. So someone reached out to me and they said to me, I've seen your LinkedIn profile and your background. You're definitely more than a social media manager. So then it took me a little bit of time to kind of step into, the person I really am and my background. But that's when I decided to focus on LinkedIn. So decided to focus on figuring out what is this platform where I just updated my profile and all of a sudden someone reached out and wanted help. So my goal with LinkedIn, though, was to really just do business. It wasn't to be this LinkedIn expert or LinkedIn strategist. I really wanted to see how I could use it for business. So I started to share content. I started to increase my network, started to try a bunch of different things because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, right? But as I started to do different things and test different things, my brand started to grow, my visibility started to grow, and then people started to reach out to me and they wanted to know how I could help them to build their brand on LinkedIn too. Of course, imposter syndrome set in once again, and I was thinking, okay, I'm not really qualified to do this because I haven't done it before, but yeah, I've been building brands for companies for the past 20 years, and clearly I did it for myself, right? So I started to help people with that. Right away, I got on Facebook and I was screaming at the top of the mountains, you guys really, this is like at least 4 to 5 years ago. I said, you guys need to get on LinkedIn. This is like the place to be. There, you probably have your friends on there doing really well, but they're keeping it as a secret. Of course, no one really listened, right? But you have people who don't really listen because they're not familiar. And then you have the people who are intimidated by it. So now we're at the point where we have LinkedIn has grown, like I said, after the pandemic, all of these companies, or during the pandemic, all of these companies decided, okay, we need a way to continue business. We cannot cold call into office. We cannot have meetings. We cannot network. And they decided too that they need to come onto LinkedIn and start using it. So that's your opportunity. Whether you're looking to get inside of a company to do a training, whether you're looking to work with executives, whether you're looking to just work B2C with people who are on LinkedIn, this is an opportunity for you to position yourself as an industry expert and really get in front of them so they understand that there is no doubt you're the solution that they've been looking for. Because every single day, people are on LinkedIn searching for your expertise, but you just have to make sure that when they find you, and they probably find you every single day or whenever you're on the platform, but we have to make sure that not only is your profile set up so it positions you as that person that they're looking for, because we know, you and I both know that you have the expertise and you have the background and you have all of the other great stuff to solve their problem, but they don't know from the first look. So today we're going to work through some systems and a framework in order for you to really understand what should you be focused on over the next 5 to 7 days, over the next 30 days, in order to make sure that when someone goes to your profile or when someone hears about you and they now look you up on LinkedIn, that you are positioned the exact way that they expect in their mind, okay? All right, so let's kind of go through our next page. Top things you need to have clarity in order to succeed on LinkedIn. So big thing for LinkedIn right now, obviously, when you are going after that market, they only want to work with someone who is an industry leader, right? You are a leader in your field, you are an authority, but they only, just like if you would go to a doctor and you had a serious problem, you're only going to try to go to the best. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on these few things. And if you want to start filling in the blank, I'll give you a little, I'm known to give a little bit of extra bonus things. But if you want to start filling in the blank, these are a few things that your client base needs in order to see you as the expert, and you need to communicate clearly. So we're talking about the needs and the core needs of the market. So different things, you may have people who they want to just be able to stand out in the crowd, right? We're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People have different needs, they have different reasons why they would work with you. Your messaging is going to be different. So they want to be able to stand out from the crowd. They want to have confidence in their future. And when we think about, the great resignation, this is like the world of the great resignation. How can you put together a message and how can you position yourself to be the person that they look to that's going to help them have confidence in their future? Another thing that they want is, and they want to enjoy a sense of well-being. Same thing with the pandemic, right? You might be feeling it, other people who are feeling it. You're not gonna meet all of these needs, but there's one of these needs that people have. You are gonna meet it with your expertise and your message. So don't worry about thinking about all the different things. Make sure we're thinking about the one big thing the one big problem you solve. So they want to enjoy a sense of well-being. If you are in the health or wellness space, if you are in leadership consulting or coaching, that might be your thing to make sure that they have this sense of well-being. They also want to feel a sense of freedom, right? For everyone who's an entrepreneur on this session, we're not in our business to work the business every single day. I said the other day on a post, I shared a Facebook post that when we think about what's ultimate as an entrepreneur, it's to be able to enjoy our life without having to show up on social media every single day. So whether someone is a doctor, whether someone's an attorney, whether someone's an entrepreneur, their goal is to eventually have a life of freedom and flexibility. So another thing that when we think about the core needs of an audience, they want to feel a sense of the thrill, right? Some people are really into adventure. Like, how can you position your message to make sure that they seek you out when they're looking for that sense of a thrill? And then, of course, with the big diversity and inclusion and equity, a sense of belonging. Does your message meet the sense of belonging? As I'm going through this list, guys, if you already have thought about how do you fill that gap, go ahead and share your comment of which one of those you fill. So I'm going to kind of like start from the beginning and then we can finish the end. Stand out from the crowd, have confidence in their future. So you're going to write down which one relates to your message. They want to enjoy a sense of well-being. They want to feel a sense of freedom. They want to feel a sense of the thrill. They want to feel a sense of belonging. They want to protect their environment. They want to be the person that they don't have to put on airs. They can show up as themselves. They are unapologetic with how they show up. So if you're a confidence coach, if you're an empowerment coach, how can you help these people who typically showed up and pleased others? How can you help them to be themselves, to show up as themselves? All of these things are the core needs of different people in different audiences. So let's go ahead and go through some of you guys and see if Flo, do you want to go ahead and share some of the information that we have in the chat?
Yes, absolutely. Most of the questions at this point are to repeat the 5 senses that you just said so everybody can write them down. Okay. So they are stand out from the crowd, sense of well-being, sense of freedom, sense of thrill, and a sense of belonging.
And have confidence in your future, protect their environment, and be the person they want to be. So which one of these gaps do you fill in your market?
Missy Pitcher says she has a sense of freedom and confidence. Vicki Ellison wants to stand out from the crowd. Melanie Ferreira wants to be the look-to person. Wow, everybody has what they want. We have a long list.
Fabulous. All right.
Love it.
All right, so you're good on this one. We're only on one. The things that you need to have clarity on. So that's the gap that you fill in the market. You guys know that so far. Number 2, what do you want to be well known for? How are you going to position yourself based on what you want to be well known for? How are you going to position yourself, especially on LinkedIn, to be sought after as that person? So if you want to share in the comments what you want to be well known for, you could be the voice in your industry as it relates to what, if you can fill in that blank. So expert in soft skills. So I would, so here's examples that I would do. As Nick says, expert in soft skills, what we want to be very specific on that, right? What soft skills? You want to be an expert in emotional intelligence? Do you want to be an expert in styles of leadership? You want to be very specific, because when you are putting your messaging out there on LinkedIn, you do not want someone to have to think twice about what you do, because if they have to ask, you most likely lost them. There's interest if they have to ask, but if they have to ask and there's someone else with a extremely clear message, then most likely you lost them, right? So then the third thing, as we talk about what we need to have clarity on, the first thing was the gap that you fill. What are the real needs of your audience? Then the third thing is that the surface level needs of your audience. So for most of you, when you sent me, when you signed up for this, and when you sent me what you want to get from this, this session, most of you said, I want to get more clients from LinkedIn. Some people even said, I want to be able to understand how to network better, but there's deeper than that, right? So what the deeper was number one. Number three is, what is that need? What is that immediate need that they want you to fill? So that's the number three that you need to think about. Also, you need to be clear on your brand voice. So what's going to make yourself familiar to your market? As they scroll every single day on LinkedIn, as they see your message on other platforms, do you have the same exact brand voice? And is it familiar? Because nowadays, everyone wants something that's familiar. They want consistency, and that's what increases their trust. So brand voice, are you aligned with your brand voice? Are you clear on that brand voice? And then the last one is going to be, what's your message? So what's that main message that they need to hear you speak about time and time and time again, that makes it obvious that you are the industry leader for them? All right, so let's go through that list again. So the gap, and we went through a few different things that you can look up through that gap. What do you want to be well known for, and how are you going to position that? Understanding the needs of your audience, understanding your brand voice, and then understanding that message that's going to bring everything together. All right, what I want to do now, I want to do an exercise, and we're going to really go through this and answer the questions of those who comment. What do you want to be well known for? So I know Nick said he wants to be soft skills, an industry leader in soft skills. Jody says, the voice in my industry as it relates to building a mental health agency and training staff. I love that. My big thing, guys, is obviously I want to have an academy. I have a LinkedIn Sales Academy. I want to grow it into almost like a school, a global classroom where people can come in and they can learn about messaging, they can learn about positioning, they can learn about how to stand out as an expert in their field to close 5, 6, and 7-figure contracts. But I want to be able to do it from my beach home in Costa Rica. So what is that big thing that you want? What is that dream that, if you're able to accomplish A, you can get to that real goal where you can, for me, like I said, my beach home in Costa Rica, where I am impacting millions of people. What is that big thing for you? All right, we have Melanie, academic English writing skills coach for international PG students. Crystal wants global impact. Tell me a little bit more about what that means, right? Misha, she wants a pivot plus 40 plus community from let's get deeper, guys. Let's get deeper into your big dream, right? Into what's the big dream? So yeah, you can easily help people to pivot their mindset, but what does that really do for you? Are you changing the world? Are you impacting future generations? Are you changing the lives of parents? Tell me a little bit about what that big goal does for you. So my job is to help you to think a little bit bigger than the surface thing. We want to dig deeper, because when it's about tapping into the mind of a LinkedIn buyer, we want to be able to dig deeper into what they're thinking. You build trust with someone when you have this level of connection that no one else has from them. So that's what we really need to dig deeper into. So we have the 10 things that you need to have clarity on. You guys have that. Now let's start to talk about a framework. The framework is going to help you to really position yourself the right way so you're sought after as an industry leader and you're seen by the right people on LinkedIn. So if you can go over to this, the PAVE framework, PAVE, and let me know what questions you guys have in the chat so far. All right, we have other big dreams coming up. Crystal wants job seekers to gain clarity and confidence even when they feel overwhelmed. All right, fabulous. All right, well, how are we going to do it? How are we going to help you to get there? Because what I have found time and time again from people is they know they have this big, amazing dream, right? They either don't know how to get there, so they're putting everything and anything out on LinkedIn. They're posting 2-3 times a day. They're sharing content that's all about them. They're promoting their stuff all the time. They're putting links in the content, and people are ignoring them. Because no one, and it's a harsh truth, no one really cares about what we want. It's all about what they want. So when you find yourself with LinkedIn, and if you use LinkedIn on a regular basis, you know when you're getting the views, you know when you're getting the reach, you know when you're getting the inquiries. If you find yourself posting time and time again, and you're not necessarily getting inquiries from your target audience, yeah, you're getting inquiries from the marketers who want to sell you something, and then they want to find 15 leads for you in 2 weeks, right? If you're not getting inquiries from the right people, then most likely if you are posting content, you're setting it up, you're positioning yourself the wrong way. We always think about it's not about you, it's about the audience and what they need. So the big things that I want you to do, and you don't even have to post 4 times and 5 times and 2 times a day on LinkedIn. All you need is quality content, because when we think about how your audience wants to see you, they want to see you as a resource. That means how are you going to show up in a way, because LinkedIn in itself is a media platform. So how can you show up also as your own media platform, almost like your own TV show, right? Remember Oprah back in the days, what was it, 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock on ABC, I think it was. So every single day we made sure that we were available 4 o'clock Monday through Friday, and we turned to ABC for those who loved Oprah. So how can you position yourself as the Oprah of your industry, so that time and time again, whenever you put out content, whenever you show up, whenever you start to engage with others, everyone wants to pay attention. Everyone wants to be a part of your world. Everyone wants to see what's going on. People start to reach out to you naturally, and they refer friends to you, right? We're going to cover a lot of that tomorrow, where now you're starting to build your invisible sales team of people who are referring friends to you. So let's go through this whole framework. The first thing is understanding the problem that you solve, and it's always the deeper problem, right? So understanding the problem that you solve. Some of us, and we know it, I was in this space before, some of us are either undercharging for what we offer, or we are doing things for free that we shouldn't do for free. So we're doing these speaking engagements, speaking before this large audience, and then the people tell you that they don't have anything in their budget, so you accept it. When you understand the problem that you solve, and you're able to solve a very painful problem to your market, you're going to command a lot more. And people are not going to question your fees, and they're not going to tell you they don't have the money in the budget. They're going to say, give me a few days, I'll find the money in the budget. So that's something to really think about. I remember, so I've gone from, I tell you a little bit about my history. I have gone from doing a 3-month program that was only $1,500 for the 3 months to work with someone, for someone to work with me. I have gone from a place where someone reached out, and when they reached out at the very end, they were ready to work with me. I told them my price, that was $1,500. And she said, is that a month? And I said, no. And that's when I knew, that's when it clicked. I said, no, it is per, it's for the entire program. And she said, I thought you'd be at least $10,000. So you want to get to a point where you are surprised that someone thinks you are a bargain, not at $1,500, because that's not being a bargain. That's not being smart about how you're marketing yourself. So I went from that space, and you have to show up unapologetically, and you have to be willing to walk away. I went from that space to 2 weeks ago, I did a 90-minute training for someone for $7,500. I told her my fee was $7,500, and she said, okay, send me the invoice. So you want to get to that point where it's not a question, and it's almost, no one would dare question your offer. And then the right people are approaching you, and the ones who know they cannot, based on the problem that you solve, the ones that cannot afford you, quote unquote, they won't even approach you, right? So that's P. What painful problem do you really solve that people are willing to pay for? Nowadays, a lot of it's well-being. So think about that painful problem. And then A is that authority positioning piece. What makes you, besides the fact that you have 10 and 20 years of experience, but what's unique? What's that unique differentiator? What's unique about you that makes you the authority in your field? And not only that, because it's not about you mentioning that you're an authority. What makes you an authority so much that other people are talking about you in rooms that you've never been in? And we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow too. So now when we think about the V, it's visibility. What I found time and time again, I have people reaching out to me and they say, oh yeah, I post content twice a day and I do this and I engage and I spend hours on the platform and nothing's working. What's happening, guys? Typically, you don't have the visibility. So if you are sharing content time and time again in front of this audience, and keep in mind, you may be connected to 3,000 people, but remember, only 40% of the people are actually active on the platform. So your job is to get in front of new people every single day, because if the only strategy you have on LinkedIn is to share content and you're sharing content over and over again, you don't really have the visibility. You're recycling your content in front of the same 10 people who don't really care about what you have to offer, because when we think about building that audience, maybe you didn't build the audience with the right people, right? So maybe you don't have, and like I said, we'll talk about that tomorrow, but maybe you did not build the audience around the right group of people. So even though you may have 10 people liking your post because they love you and they're friends with you, that's good, that's cool. It makes me feel good. But how about we put things out that starts to convert into income and sales and opportunities and things like that, right? So then we have visibility. How are you going to now position yourself and make sure that you get in front of the right people every single day so your visibility is increased? So more people are talking about you in rooms that you've never been into. So you get these referral contracts. So that's the V. So then the E is executing with excellence. And when I say executing with excellence, it's not about making sure everything is perfect before you put your things out there, because what I found time and time again, I work with a lot of people who are either they've gone to professional school, right? So a doctor, attorney, master's degree, and conditioning has taught them that everything has to be perfect before they can put anything out there. It's not about making sure everything is perfect before you put it out there. It's making sure that you're operating from a place of excellence. But excellence means, if I put something out there and I was the person with the problem, would I want to work with them? So it's being able to tap into the mind of that buyer so well that when you put something out there, you're not afraid to put anything out there. And you're putting the right things out there time and time again. But when you put the right things out there, they're ready to work with you. So let's go over that a little bit one more time. P is the problem that you solve. The more painful the problem, and it doesn't have to be what you think is a painful problem, right? For some people, it is just about, how can I build my thought leadership in the marketplace, because I don't want to be irrelevant. In 5 years, I do not want to be forgotten. That might not be as relevant to us, but it's relevant to that person. So the more painful the problem, the more they will pay for it, the more they won't question your fee. A, authority positioning. What is that unique differentiator that makes you stand out, that makes you an authority in your field? V is that visibility. What can you do besides posting 10, 20, 30 times during the week on LinkedIn to make sure you get in front of the right people and more of the right people? And then we have E, where we're executing and we're operating from a place of excellence. What can we do to ensure time and time again that our content, our messaging, everything that we put out, it's consistent. So when someone sees us on October 1st, and then they see us on October 28th, they still understand, they get the same sense of trust that they had in us from day one. All right, so that's something to think about. All right, guys. So now part of this equation, what I want you to do, I have a big portion for you to do for your homework, but one of the things that's gonna help you to do your homework a little bit better, and we're on this very last page of session 1, right? What are your clients' biggest struggles? So I want you to start thinking about that. This is not your homework, but I want you to start thinking about that. What are their biggest struggles based on what we discussed? And how are you uniquely positioned to solve their problem? So start to think about that. when your key takeaway, I always talk about positioning yourself as an aspirin versus a vitamin. So if you start to think about it, right, I have all of these vitamins, they are in my pantry. I have my vitamin C, I have my calcium, I have my omega-3, 6, 9. Sometimes I forget to take it. So sometimes I take it, but if I'm in my pantry and I'm getting something else, I may not always take it. That's a vitamin. It's not a priority to me. And it should be, right? Because it's for my health. It should be a priority, but right now it's not. However, if I have a headache, I am not going to wait 2 hours to take an aspirin. This headache is nagging. If I have a toothache, if I have an earache, I am going to find a solution. And I don't care if I can't find an aspirin and I go to the store down the street and it's $10, I'm getting the aspirin, even though it's $2. I don't know how much aspirins are, but even if it's $2.99, if it's $10, I will get that aspirin. I will get that solution in order to make sure the pain goes away. So make sure you're not positioning yourself as a vitamin, although vitamins are good, and make sure you're positioning yourself as an aspirin level solution, right? So now that's your key takeaway for today. Now the homework. When we talked about all of those different needs, what core need does your solution fill? So you're going to have the homework badge. If you go into the resource portal, you're going to have your homework badge. It's also going to be in the Facebook group. What I'd love for you to do is take your badge, post it to the group, and share what is that core need. And what we can do too is guess what you do. Do not share what you do. Just share the core need that your solution helps. And if someone wants to comment underneath, we can guess what you do. Right? How fun is that? All right, what questions do you have before we start to wrap things up, guys? What questions do you have about the core needs? Remember, Glow is here if you have questions about the workbook, about your homework, about anything else. She is here to make sure that your questions are answered, right? Yeah, it goes fast when it's fun, doesn't it? Good, I'm glad. Wendy had the aspirin analogy as an aha moment. You know, time and time again, for me too, I had to make sure I was being intentional about what I was putting out. Once I got to the point that I was intentional about what I was putting out, I used to post every single day on LinkedIn. Maybe I post 3 times a week. However, LinkedIn highlights me on some content. So I don't have to do the work myself, right? LinkedIn highlights me before its entire core audience. LinkedIn already has a credibility. And I've taught my clients to do the same thing too. It's a strategy we use. They highlight me in front of the audience, and then they send notifications to every single person in my network. I think I have 22,000 people in my network at this point. They send notifications that I was highlighted for a specific post. So what can we do to make sure that we don't do too much work? Of course, we're going to do work on the front end, but what can we do to get these people who already have the credibility in their market to start putting us in front of the right audience? So I want you to start to think about that. I see that a lot of people always, Dana said she loved the pay strategy. A lot of people always get a lot of benefit from that. Yeah, a lot of people do. All right, guys, get ready. You're all set. If anyone, let me do my quick photo. If anyone wants to do the visibility challenge, go ahead and do the screenshot. And don't forget to share, hashtag the LinkedIn Black Belt, share on your social. If you have any questions going into day 2, reach out to Glow. If you are just on the LinkedIn side, obviously I'm on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me, okay? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I will see you tomorrow, same time at 12 o'clock Eastern. Bye.
Bye.